actually tried to upload this video one time already, or record, not upload. I actually tried to record this video one time already, and it got really weird. The end was really strange, but I just want to do a quick story time, uh, and I want to tell you about the period when I slept in my car. So it was for about a 6 month period at the very end of 2017 and the very beginning of 2018. So, um, I think I told you guys very early on that, like, when I first got here to South Carolina, I did have a hard time finding employment. I looked around. So I got my license first. I just kind of saved and um, got my license. It costs like $200 to get them to apply for your license in most states. So here it's about that, and I had to just kind of take the little bit of resources that I had and use them towards that. So once I got my license, I knew that I would be able to find some good employment that would pay me enough that I could that it would be worth it to go ahead and get the license. So I went ahead and got my massage therapy license, and then I looked for a lot of different I looked in a lot of different areas of the state for work. Um, I went on a bunch of interviews and I applied to a bunch of different places, and then I ended up not finding anything around where I am. I think I told you in a few videos back that my hometown, is a very small town in South Carolina, that is not really, there's not really much around it. The closest major city that we have that somebody outside of this area might know of is Charlotte, North Carolina. And that's about 2 hours away from my hometown. So I ended up going to Charlotte under the pretense of helping someone else remain in the place that they were in. And I just thought, okay, this is a good opportunity to go over there and look for work, since I didn't find any work over here. It's a good opportunity to go over there and look for work, and also like help somebody out in the process. So I went over there, kind of got coaxed there. Went over there, and I we ended up not staying. I wasn't aware of the depth and the breadth of the situation that the other party was in. So, a long story short, when I got over there, things were already in a place where they were more dire than I could manage or help with, because you have to think about, I still have to find a job, not, besides working the job and making money, I actually have to find one. So I ended up finding a job around early the beginning of November of of 2017. So I ended up finding a job around the beginning of November, uh, and around that same time, so I went there in October, and I ended up finding a job in around November. But by the time that I found work that was viable, that was going to pay me enough to help out with anything, we were already having to leave. We were already being forced to leave, pretty much. So, because I had just found a job that actually was paying me something, I had not worked in a year, a little bit over a year actually. And so, I mean, other than, I won't say it's not that I hadn't worked in a year. I had not been employed by somebody else for over a year. I did in that time uh, do little moves towards starting my own business, you know, card signs, that kind of thing, and just and putting ads on the internet. And so I did end up having some work uh, during that time, but very little. But I did end up having some work just because um, uh, massage therapy happens to have the potential to be a very entrepreneurial field. So one could realistically, if they wanted to devote all their time, that could work solely on their own. And so that's what I was attempting to do. But like I said, it's a very small area, that, like my hometown, and there's not a lot in the way of massage therapy or wellness type services. Like there's not even a yoga studio here. So there's not much in the way of that sort of things in that arena or that field. So I had a little bit of work, but not much. Just enough to kind of pay my car insurance and that kind of thing. So, which was really expensive at the time, but that's neither here nor there. So I moved to Charlotte. We ended up having to leave. I ended up It was the first job that I had in a long time. So I decided that the best thing for me to do was to just sleep in my car and continue to go to work. So that's what I did. I ended up uh, working at this place for, I would work doubles because I just wanted to work as much as possible and save and get myself to a stable place. Not only that, I had a bunch of stuff to pay for. My car at the time was not a very good, reliable car. It was a very useful car, and I was very grateful for it because I had nothing when I bought it. I ended up finding it for $1,000, which is a wonderful price for a car. It worked and drove, and so it was definitely a great deal for that amount of money. But as you can imagine, with it only being a $1,000 car, like it wasn't the most reliable piece of machinery. So things would mess up on it. It never put me down in the time that I had it, so that was awesome. But things would mess up on it, just to the extent of like I could drive somewhere and have it fixed. So because of the factor of me working so much during the day and so many days of the week, and my car not being a very reliable good car, that's a new car or something, I I slept in my car. So I would work these 12-hour days, sometimes longer, but 12 hours was about that was like the normal, 12 hours, because I would work doubles. So I worked like doubles every day for like 6 days a week. And actually some weeks 7 days a week. So some weeks there would be like 2 weeks before I would have a day off. So, which was okay with me because, like I said, I had to get my stuff together. I had to kind of get my bearings. So the way it was that I would work these 12 plus hour days, sometimes 13, 14, or even 16-hour days. And then I would finish around 11 or 12 at night. And which okay, so I would finish my shift around that time, which would then leave me being done with work in general around like probably 30 minutes to an hour later than that. So then some nights I would be done around like 12:30, and then some nights I would be done around like 12 o'clock or 11:30. So um, I would work these long hours during the day, and I would sleep in my car at night, and then in the morning when I got up for work, I would use the gas stations um, to take care of my hygiene. To take care of my hygiene. So um, what I would do is I would go into I would try to find the gas stations or the stores with one of those single person bathrooms. So those stores where um, it's not like a bunch of stalls, where it's just like one toilet in the bathroom, one sink, that kind of thing. And so, and the reason behind that is because then I could go in there and I could lock the door, and uh, if somebody were to knock or anything, nobody would try to get in because it's a single person bathroom. So I would go in there, lock the door, and I would bathe myself. I would take in my washcloth and my toothbrush, and I would bathe. I would clean myself and just kind of as much as I could. And then I would, I mean, it wasn't like an actual bath. It was, like, you call a whole bath where you stand up to the sink and you take a quick whole bath. Like you just, some people call it a birth bath. I call it a whole bath. So, I would do that, and then I would head to work. So, ooh, my hand is ashy. So I would head to work, and then I would work for the whole day, and then I would just do the same thing over and over again. Um, so, like I said, even though like my my hometown is 2 hours away, because of the condition of my car and the amount that I worked that I had to work, it just wasn't feasible for me to drive back and forth. So I slept in the car from about that time in November to about April, to about the end, towards the end of April. I mean, I'm sorry, towards the well, yeah, no, towards the end of April, because I continued after I ended up getting another car. So in about March, I I started to look for another vehicle, because the good thing about sleeping in the car and working as much as I did is that I was able to save every penny of my money. What I did was just about every penny. What I did was I would not eat out. I would go to the grocery store. I think you guys know that I'm pretty much a plant-based eater. So I would go to the grocery store and I would get and some veggies, usually like leafy greens like kale or something like that, like spinach or something. And then I would get ramen noodles. So I would get like a bunch of ramen noodles, and then that would be that's what I subsisted of pretty much. Um, During that time, I would have fruit, or I would have ramen noodles with like some vegetables in there, so some spinach or some kale or something, and uh, that allowed me to save just about the the big bulk of my money. Like most of the money that I earned, I was able to put back into my savings. So that afforded me the ability to start looking for another car, a better car, after that amount of time, which was, let's see, February, March, April. So about 5 months. And then once I started to look for a car, everything just kind of flowed, very much like divine inspiration, divine providence type thing, where it just kind of rolled and flowed into position for me. I was searching and I was putting out the effort of looking, but I ended up getting help from a family member who had bought their car from a dealership here in my hometown. So they ended up patching me through to the guy who sold them their car, and this person helped me to get a car that was affordable. I won't say necessarily affordable, but like that was new, and I could afford it. And it was new, and it was just in a better condition so that I could uh, be more secure in its mechanical soundness. It's just more reliable. So I ended up getting that car in my current car um, in the end of March, and so although I continue to sleep in there and stay over for a longer period of, I'm sorry, for a bit longer, up until about April, it afforded me the ability to commute, even though it's 2 hours. That was better, of course. Like, it was still nice for me to be able to come to my hometown, and every night, and have a warm place to sleep and not in a car. So that's what I began to do in around April. Uh, I around January of that same year. So I still had the old car. I ended up finding, even with sleeping in the car and handling my hygiene at the gas station, I ended up finding a job in my field. So I ended up finding a job in massage therapy at a little spa in one of the suburbs of Charlotte. So I that was a big help, because the job that I was doing before was not in my field. It was just kind of a quick hourly job to make money. So I really didn't make a lot. And it was taking me a pretty long time to save. Because my career field uh, pays a little bit better, I was able to accelerate my saving, and that's how I ended up doing and making that happen. So I worked 2 jobs during that time. Once I found the massage therapy job, I actually ended up taking on another delivery job at night, and so that's where I am now. I currently work both those jobs, so that's why I've been just kind of MIA, because I've been really really busy working a lot. So I I just worked both those jobs and saved, and that's how I ended up getting the car. And so once I got the car, I was able to commute and not have to sleep there. I'll just say that, like, that experience taught me a lot. It taught me a lot about myself and about life in general. You know that saying when people say, when shit hits the fan, you really find out who you are. I can attest to that, and I definitely agree, because I learned so much about myself by being humbled in that way, and having to fend for myself in a way that I never had to before. Just having to do what I had to do. And so I learned a lot about myself, and I learned a lot about, like, my strength and my resilience. So overall, it was a very hard experience, but it was a very rewarding um, and a very good learning experience for me, that put me in touch with myself in a way that I had never been before. So I hope me sharing this, I shared this because I want this to help somebody. I hope that somebody gets something from this, even if it's just some support or some solidarity through a tough situation that you may be going through, or that they may be going through. And so with that, that's all. I'm gonna just go ahead and end it there. That's that, and thank you for listening. I really do appreciate it, and you're awesome, and lots of love to you.